This week's cheese platter features a region in Europe that is often overlooked in cheese. We're speaking of the region that sits on the North Sea. These include countries such as northern France, Belgium, Holland or the Netherlands, and Denmark. They make some great cheeses, but they're often overlooked or not understood. So we thought we'd feature a couple new ones today. The first one is a Belgian cheese called Wynedale. It's a washed rind, soft ripened cheese, a little more fragrant, a perfect cheese for beer, which is fitting considering it comes from Belgium. It is made from cow's milk and aged about 4 to 6 weeks. This cheese, it's taken quite a long time to come in the United States and is still relatively rare, so it's not very well known. But it's got a great flavor with a little bit of strength that mellows out in the end, and it's a really fun new cheese to try, especially for parties, maybe a football game or something like that. Next is a cheese called Leerdammer. Now, if you're a fan of Jarlsberg, which comes from Norway, the Leerdammer comes from Holland. It looks a lot like it, although it's a bit taller. It's got the holes, but it's a little sweeter. It was an innovation, actually, and a modeling, a blending of the Gouda and Swiss, so that it has a little bit of that Gouda sweetness and texture with still the Swiss flavor. This is slightly sweeter than the Jarlsberg, but still has that great nutty flavor. So it might be a nice new try, and it's certainly to help the family try something perhaps other than their common Jarlsberg. Next is this gorgeous cheese that looks just like a cantaloupe. It's called Mimolette. It's made in northern France and as well as Belgium. This one here is aged for a year. Very, very firm in texture. The color is gorgeous, and from the adding of annatto, a natural dye. It's got a very rustic rind that forms as it ages. This cheese gets so much better with age. The young ones are very, very mild. However, as it ages, it gets this sharpness, a little bit of crystallization. Think of a very, very well-aged Edam cheese, perhaps. Not as strong as Gouda, but an absolute treasure and something fun to serve on a platter, not only visually, but for its flavor profile as well. Last on the cheese plate is the blue Castello, a blue cheese that may be familiar to some. It comes from Denmark. It is creamy and a little more flavorful than some of its other counterparts. It's definitely not as salty as some other Danish blues, and it is consistently excellent all year round, which is great because you can get it at a great value and use it for many, many uses in your kitchen as well as for a cheese platter. The 4 of these cheeses come from the North Sea region of Europe, and they're seldom known. However, they're great flavor, and we really felt that we should feature them and highlight an area in Europe that's often not thought of for its cheese, and yet produce some very great cheeses that are versatile and flavorful.